Hi, Jim Ziegler, the Alpha Dog. And I know I'm always telling you we got another exciting show, but ladies and gentlemen, we got a really exciting show today. I've got three superstars and the other three screens. This is not the Brady Bunch. Let me tell you, these guys are absolute superstars. I've dubbed them the Dream Team. Up in my left upper corner, we got Josh Weeben, and we
Josh
got
Josh
James.
James.
no, no, Josh. Listen to me, Scott. Excuse me. We got Josh James in the lower corner, and help me out.
Ryan Weeben.
Ryan with an O Weeben,
Yes, sir.
Ryon Weeben, and
That's
my
it.
my good friend, brother from another mother. There he is, Brian Kramer in the bottom screen, general manager, Germain Toyota, Naples, Florida, 500 unit superstore in a little fishing village. What's that behind you there, big guy?
Our little fishing pier in our little fishing village.
Today we're going to talk about all the buzz is digital retailing, and people are talking digital retailing, one-touch sales. Technology is going to replace everybody. Now you guys are my example of digital retailing incorporated into the retail process. Let's start with Ryan Weeben over there. Ryan, how are we doing that? Specifically are you guys doing? What vendors are you using? And how have you incorporated it? How is it a hybrid?
Using Prodigy mainly to start it off, and then obviously as you move into our F&I department, they have Darwin running through CDK's digital format there. But the way it's a hybrid, I mean, it's just at the end of the day, you stick to a certain process and you have the flexibility to go the customer's route, whether it's at home delivery, whether it's in the showroom, whether it's meeting at their business where it's at, and just keeping the process tight to where you can branch off into any three of those and be able to deliver 100% of the time the same way.
Fantastic. So you guys have got all the technology vendors. I mean, I just heard Prodigy. I just heard Darwin. I just heard CDK's technology solution. Do these conflict? Are they complementary? Help me out.
Well, they all perform different tasks, but they all flow together. So from the beginning of the deal to an end of the deal, if we execute our process the right way and we're able to plug the information in from the get-go, it's a one push, and that just carries all the way through to F&I. So they complement each other all the way, where you have Prodigy for the entry, for making the customer more comfortable about the process because they get to see it. Instead of having the computer flipped around away from them, they're part of the process. Being able to scan the trades in and do the walkarounds. And then from there, it just flows out. It's amazing. It's amazing how fast we were able to get this together.
Okay, how fast we're able to get it together. Josh, jump in here a second. I want to ask you, okay, a customer contacts the dealership on the website. They submit a lead. Somehow you get a contact with them. You got an appointment with them. They show up. Take it. What happens next?
Okay, so at that point, let's say we have the capability on our website where they can go on and they can do a trade appraisal, put in a credit app, they can customize their payments, they can pick out the car, they can do all that. So when they arrive, really the transition is just taking that information and starting to verify at that point, right? So they have an appointment, the customer or the salesperson is going to have the car pulled up front already. Then, the customer is going to see that, they come in, then at that point you take their trade in. If they have a trade in, just verify the appraisal. We also do a walk around with the customer so that while the appraiser is doing it, right, they're just verifying everything that the customer said. Then they come in, they put in the credit app if it's not already done. If it already is, really at that point, you're just going out and verifying what they've already built.
Let me stop you one second.
Sign.
Let me stop you one second. Okay. So the customer can do some amount or even all of the transaction online.
They can do 100% online. So
they can do 100% online. So
Correct.
Like I've said many times, I like to fill out my paperwork, but I still physically go to the doctor. So
right. So what we can do, this is what we have set up. You can be at home. You can put in your credit app. You can do your trade appraisal. You can pick out the car. At that point, now you get in touch with the salesperson, right? Everything gets built up. We get it ready on our side. You don't have to leave your house because we have the technology where we can send all the paperwork digitally right to your email address. You're going to sign it there. The salesperson then brings the car after being washed and detailed out to your house, picks up your trade-in, brings it back, and leaves you with the new car. You don't even have to show up.
How much of that's happening? Brian, how much of that's happening?
I would say you're talking from end to end, like A to Z.
From end to end, how much A to Z where you guys aren't even involved in it? Just you show up and give them a car, pick up the trade and go. How much of that's happening?
Less than 5%.
Less than 5%. So as I know, and I sometimes will ask questions to which I know the answer. Anyway, that's one of the questions I know the answer. So people are not fully transacting online. They're going a certain percentage of the way. They're still physically ending up at the dealership more than they're ending up with a home delivery. And people are talking Vroom and Vroom Carvana. I'm hearing all this. Quit it. So anyway, that is a small percentage of the people, and you guys are doing it right. Josh, jump back in and finish the process for us.
Okay, before I finish the process, let me just say this. A lot of people are talking about this Vroom and everything, right? And they're getting freaked out. What are we going to do? In the end of the day, what it's going to come down to is you just need to improve your customer service standpoint, make it transparent for the customers. It's the only reason why they even go that route is because they don't like the back and forth typical car sales thing. So that's what we've done, is advanced everything to the point where it is transparent and upfront. So from beginning to end, customer can see everything. Now, let's say finishing that process though, right? All that's going to happen is, that's basically it. So you're looking for some ending that they have to do, but they don't. So everything's already signed digitally from DMV paperwork. They're able to do their contract review. So we used Darwin to present products. They have their whole menu right there. They select what they want. They get a receipt of everything that they do, and it's all digitally signed. So
wait a second. So they're doing all their F&I online. Are your F&I numbers suffering? Are your people doing F&I physically in the dealership? How's that working out?
No, you know what? And it's funny because if you are a dealership that's going to venture into this, you're going to have a bunch of people that, like before, like, right, the internet's here, it's going to go away, it's not going to be here forever. So they're going to sit there and, try and fight it at first, but as soon as they buy in. So I was very profitable about it. And I thought it was a lot easier, to be honest, because people get in there typically, right, and it's going to be whatever the normal process was of dealing with the finance manager. But now you're in your home, you're comfortable, you're going over your options. And with our system that we use, it's not just a piece of paper that says you get this, this, and this, right? So they're able to click into it, view more details on the product. They can watch a video. They can see what it's going to do for them in a 5-year period. There's so much more to it. So while you're walking a customer through it, doing it digitally, it's not so much, hey, you have to have this. It's, hey, let me go over all your options with you, and you're going to pick which one works best for you. Let's make sure you click the videos, you read what's on there, watch them, make sure you make the best decision for yourself.
So you're a hybrid F&I manager, sales manager, as I understand. You're wearing both hats.
No, I'm more of a sales manager. It's just that I came out of F&I not too long ago. Mm-hmm. And so obviously if we were super backed up at the dealership and there's no F&I managers available at that point, yes, I would step in and I would do it because we want to have our customers have a good experience. So in the end, if that's going to create a bad experience because they're sitting there waiting, then we have people that can step up to handle that.
Let Ryan jump in there a second. What's your take on what we're talking about right now?
Well, we talk about digital retailing. In any aspect, even if you do like a mortgage, something like that, right? It's the same amount of time. It's just being flipped to the customer, doing a lot of it at home. Like Brian said, coast to coast, you're going to have 5% or less. I'm sure everyone in this room is going to say the same thing. I'm not buying a car unless I actually go see it. But if I could knock out 70 to 75, 80% of it and show up and be where I'm just there for that 45 minutes, I think that's really the biggest thing when we talk digital retailing is the options. Do you have the option to go coast to coast? Yes. Are you going to do it with most of your customers? Absolutely not, in my opinion. But most of them will do that 70 to 80%. And alleviate their time frame in
exactly.
The dealership.
For 30 years, I've been trying to get the sales process under 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, the physical, traditional sales process from the customer showing up on the lot to we wave at their taillights, to get it under 2 hours was a feat, not because we were inefficient. But because the paperwork and the process takes so long, there's more paperwork in buying a car today than buying a house.
Correct.
And all the duplication and the redundancy of it.
Yeah, exactly. The legislation that controls us and what we have to do. Getting a sale under 2 hours was always the challenge. And then customers don't always follow the script either. They change their mind. They switch cars. All of a sudden they're eating up the clock, and I didn't do that. Does that make sense, Brian?
The dealership before you confused them, and they were over allowing, and they get them in this matrix of confusion. And yeah, they come to you and want you to do something similar. They only take certain aspects of the deal and not the entire transaction, saying that XYZ dealer down the street was giving me original MSRP for my trade, and they know it's not legit. And then they want you to match it, but they also want you to discount your car. And that's what slows everything down too, because it's our competition or the experience they had even prior to coming in. I mean, I know that, I bought my wife's birthday's coming up, and I bought her an iWatch last night. Now, I'm not going to go over there to the Apple store and go through that entire process because I don't have the patience, the time, or many other things. But once I picked it out online and was able to sit there off and on, throughout dinner, figure out, should I get the cellular package or not, or how much is that going to be? All that non-fun stuff. Now I can just give it to her, have her go over to the Apple store, and she can just do the fun part, which is taking delivery of it and learning how to use it and getting all of her, Bluetooth synced up, and no different than these cars. That's what people want. They don't want to, research all the numbers and all that other. Doing all of that here, they just want to come in and do the fun stuff, and that's why people don't always say they had the best experience, because if they don't do the prep work, or we don't give them clarity on what they need to do before they arrive, that if they fill out the credit app, it's going to save them X amount of time. If they, fill out the appraisal, it's going to save them 40 minutes. If they do this, it doesn't mean that we're going to, transact the entire thing. But if they want to do the first half online and then come in, that's fine. Sometimes they come in and they want to drive it and touch it. And then they said, I'll tell you what, just let's finish up the numbers. Josh does it all the time. He does virtual menus and follows up after the sale and says, well, what if we bring it back to you? Because they don't want to come in here and commit 4 hours. So when we offer to take it to them, either they let their guard down and they come in, or they let us come out to them because they already know the vehicle. But it's kind of like a Rubik's Cube. If you sit there and start messing around with a Rubik's Cube, you can be right there on the 1 yard line of having the color all exactly the same. And you make one little tweak and it throws the whole thing off. And it can be us, it can be the customer. But if we don't start the deal and load it correctly from the get-go, it causes a chain reaction with vendors too. You're talking Prodigy, CDK, and all that stuff. If you throw another vendor into the mix, even if it's a good product, if it doesn't mix with every other combination that we have, so that this is digital, it can actually slow everything down in a chain reaction if you insert any vendor into this process. Now, if everything isn't set up perfectly.
I have had demos recently with Darwin and Prodigy, and I think they are the two leaders in this field. I've tried to get a demo with Auto 5, but they don't think enough of me to give me a demo.
I would agree with you. Prodigy and Darwin are way out in front. Prodigy is about to do what Darwin does.
Yeah, well, Prodigy and Darwin had fantastic demos, and I could see where that works. Are you a one-price store, by the way?
No,
you're not a one-price store. So a customer can still negotiate a deal at Germain Toyota in Naples, Florida.
Yes.
So and you find most customers want to do that, or they want to do the one price?
I think that it's more like limited negotiation, but the customers have already done all that research. They just want to make sure they're not overpaying. They close quickly, but they're not huge swings because we're not hitting them at $5,000 over. Like we used to, $5,000 addendums over MSRP on Corollas. It obviously made it take a lot longer, and that wasn't long ago.
Golly. And we have the environmental packages and the deluxe pinstripes.
Right. With real 24 karat gold leaf.
Absolutely. Gold plated card. Emblems. Yeah. I had gold packages on every one of my Cadillacs.
No, and I was telling somebody the other day, I used to get high off those Magnum Sharpie fumes, love the smell of Sharpies in the morning.
Oh, green
But
Sharpies,
anymore,
absolutely.
it's not fast though anymore. And by connecting all that technology and making it seamless is the key. That's what these two guys do so well.
Like I say, Darwin and Prodigy seem to me to be the leaders in the field of digital retailing. Ryan, let me ask you, how much are the managers getting involved in the deals now?
We still get involved quite a bit. I mean, you can take it coast to coast, but at the same time, it's no different than when you go to a restaurant and the maitre d' walks by and says, or they come in, thank you for being here, go through all that. So we like to get involved very early in the process. Not even so much to sit there and talk numbers, talk this, but to make sure that we're meeting their expectations and we're running, the right way towards what they need, meeting their goals, finding the solution.
That's sort of old school. I've been teaching that for 35 years. Touch the customer often and early, never meet the customer for the first time in combat. It's always been the same theory, but now you guys are the epitome of doing that in reality. So, yeah. When the customer submits a lead, now you do not have a BDC.
No, cradle to the grave.
Okay, well, tell me how the lead gets through the sales process.
So the lead's going to come in. Obviously, customer's going to fill it out a certain way. Salesperson's going to pick it up and respond to it. We have, and the way it works is we just have expectations, and the standard is the standard on how quick that needs to happen and what it needs to look like. And it really just comes down to us backing that up. And the salesperson takes it, as far as they can to that point. But before someone ever comes in or goes out, a manager is going to talk to them. Whether it be a finance manager ends up talking to them because they made it that far into the process just to make sure everything went well, or whether it be one of us jumping in, getting on the phone because it didn't progress as far as
once again, that's old school. Nobody walks till the man talks.
Well, it's not even that. It's just, again, experience all the way across the board. Are we doing things the right way? So, I mean, it's a hybrid of everything. We say digital retailing. It's just, can you execute what you say you can do online? You know what I mean? When you go on, dealers used to say, this is this, this is this. By the time you get to the dealership, everything changed.
Oh, by the way, I meant to say, nobody walks until the man or woman talks. That's what I meant to say.
There you go.
But he's right. If you can't execute your process in the showroom, you're not going to be able to execute it online.
No. And my friend Rory Vaden always says, if you suck in person, you'll suck online.
Right.
It's true. Josh, pick it up. So, okay, we got a lead coming in. The salesperson. Now, where is the manager watching that lead? Are you tracking it in your CRM? What's happening? What is management doing? Do you even need managers here? What?
So we watch everything all day. So we watch all the incoming email replies, text replies, and then we have unanswered email and text replies that we go through. So we make sure that if there's a question being asked and someone weren't available at that moment, that we're going to jump in. But we also make sure just go to the salesperson and say, hey, so-and-so responded to you. Make sure you're getting back to them. So we're all working as a team.
You are watching the CRM. Okay, so you are the big guy behind the curtain, so to speak.
Right, and then really, I mean, the goal to be for us as management, all we try to do is lead them into the right direction and make themselves sufficient. So realistically that they wouldn't, right? Where they can figure things out. We try to do one-on-ones constantly, do training so that they can be equipped with the skills that we have, right? Instead of it just, we are always answering the question, we can say to them, how would you answer that question? Have them figure it out, because then you have a way stronger sales floor that can handle customers properly and give them the experience that they need.
Now, do the salespeople have iPads? How are they doing this?
Yes, they do. So go ahead.
Go, Jeff. Sorry.
Oh, so they do have iPads. So everything from when the customer gets in, they scan in the driver's license, they scan in the new car that they're looking at, they scan in the trade-in. So everything's in there. They can even sign their paperwork on the iPad.
What vendor's on your iPad?
Prodigy.
Prodigy. So you got does that push into the CRM and push into the DMS?
It does, yes.
Okay.
Goes right from the moment they push, it goes right into our CRM, and then we can push right into the other ones, Route One, CDK, whatever we're using.
Okay, very
V
good.
Auto.
V Auto. Yeah, I did a post about that this week. Ryan, jump in on top of Josh. So you were talking a second ago.
We were talking about salespeople and, do they need managers in this? One of the biggest things that, we found works is, I've been under other GMs, things like that in my history. And one of the things that you don't really have as a salesperson in a lot of ways is autonomy. So what kind of autonomy do you give to your salespeople to be able to make decisions and not have to ask the manager if, hey, there's this small thing that's $5. What do I do? Right? Think about it like customer experience and that. So we try to at least be able to have a certain set of standards for what kind of decisions they can make autonomously as well.
I've always tried to create the executive team. Now, I don't know if that fits in with your philosophy, but I have some salespeople that are newer in the business. They're not up to so I always had an executive team, and the executive team certainly had a lot more authority to work farther into the deal than the green peas.
And I'd say that's still true to a certain extent.
Yes, but you don't define them as executive team, no.
No, everything here, I mean, if you look at the core of what makes, in my opinion, our store great is just the way people are brought on, the way we interact with each other. There's just an extremely high level of trust. So, getting that into a new salesperson from the get-go and being okay explaining them the whys of different things so they understand it, and it's not just because I said, and being able to take them down that path so then it's a full understanding, that helps them grow a little bit faster and get into it a little quicker.
Fantastic. Well, now, Brian, is this all your vision, or how did this come about?
I guess it started off like that, but now they're taking it and running with it. I mean, basically what I'm doing right now is what I've been doing is just watching the show.
So you're the coach
here lately
in the plays, and these are the quarterbacks running the plays.
I don't even know about that. I'd say Wendell's calling in the plays now. Yep. I'm probably hanging out with you in the suite.
Wendell's calling in the plays. That's dangerous. You have to know Wendell Hardy to understand that joke, folks.
They'll both be modest, but I'll tell you this: they do run the right damn place. So,
yeah. Well, I've known Ryan for years. Ryan, no, excuse me. I've known Wendell for years. I'm looking at all the different names. I've known Wendell for many years, and met Brian recently. Brian, where was this dealership before this concept and this team came aboard? Where were you previously? Where did you start? Where are you now?
We were in the bottom 10% of Southeast Toyota and CSI, sales efficiency, a bunch of other service retention, and now they're number one in a lot of things. The last month they were 43rd in the nation in overall volume with Toyota. Number one off a report I just saw in e-contracting at 99%.
Number one in e-contracting. Interesting. So we're contracting a lot of people online. There no wet ink signatures. So e-contracting, how much of that's happening in the dealership? How much of that's happening before they get there?
I don't have the exact numbers, but it's happening 99.4% of the time, if it's remote or if it's in the showroom. So it could be, there's a lot of different combinations. You could have a customer in the showroom and then their co-signer is up in Georgia, and we're contracting remotely on the co-signer electronically after we electronically did it in person in the showroom, just because instead of FedExing that stuff, Maverick, Notary,
I remember doing that. That was that FedEx envelope went back and forth. We had the little sticky pull-offs that said sign here. And
right. And you got $30-40 times how many of those. And now as we're selling a lot more out-of-state deals, it's happening more and more and more. Today, and that was even a few, less than 12 months ago. But today, when a customer leaves the F&I office, the deal's funded, the new car is registered, the trade is registered back to them, and everything it's done.
Fantastic. So I'm looking at Prodigy, I'm looking at Darwin, and I'm seeing that you've given a lot of authority to the salespeople, but we still have a firm management policy. I'm going to ask you a question, and I don't want to embarrass anybody, but how's your grosses? I mean, are you giving up a lot of profits to have digital retailing?
I'll defer to these guys on that.
Absolutely not. I mean,
I said that kind of nice. I didn't say, "Are you guys a bunch of weak sucks?" I said,
no, it's just, I mean, like anything, if you execute the play the right way, and we hit all our touch points, and we put all the information in right, and we do the things that we've all committed to do, we run good grosses. We run great grosses. Last month in ranking, we were somewhere, I'd have to defer to Brian, but it was up there. So no, I wouldn't say it hurts gross profit. It's when you don't execute properly that you end up in those situations. Because like anything, if you don't execute the play the right way and the customer has to go through all these loopholes, then they start holding you to the fire on things that weren't a problem before.
I've often said in the car business, we don't have a knowing problem, we have a doing problem.
Correct.
I mean, people say we need more training. No, you just need to do what you were trained. We don't have
we just need accountability.
Exactly. And
sounds like a quote you took from Wendell, maybe.
Well, maybe Wendell learned that from the master.
Maybe.
Oh God! When I met Wendell, he had one shoe. I said, "Sir, you have lost a shoe." He said, "No, sir, I found one."
Oh, I can't wait for him to see this. But to answer your question, Jim, if you're selling more cars online, it doesn't mean that you're giving everything away.
Okay,
and just like
that's
Amazon and Amazon, Zappos, and Purple mattresses proved that you don't have to, like we said for decades, you won't buy a pair of shoes without trying them on. Well, Zappos obviously proved that wrong because they sell more shoes than anybody. And same thing goes that there's some people that do, there's some people that don't. But ultimately, if you lock yourself down to one, if you do online only, you don't do in-show, or if you don't do all the different parts of omni-channel, then if you can't, most of our customers don't, 95% don't go all the way through. But if you can't execute one piece of that, then you've shut yourself off from that whole revenue stream.
So you have to do all the different modalities that these people want to execute. The different,
even if they don't want to do it, they want the option that if they wanted to, they could
buy the car the way they want to buy the car. I mean, Frank Cornetti told me that, and that guy sells 150 cars on a big month. Let them buy the car. Because when I was, I bought an Audi here a year ago, and honest to God, that car takes a mechanical engineering degree to drive it. I mean, the salesperson spent more than 45 minutes showing me the features inside the car, how to operate them. And that is non-negotiable time. I mean, you can't own it. You can't own an Audi without being a member of the Audi website, which is absolutely wild. So when I did that, they brought the car to my home. They did everything the way I wanted it done. And I see more and more of this happening today. But I went to another dealership when I was shopping for the Audi. And well-known, I'm not going to name the dealer because they're in Florida. They laid a foursquare in front of me. I said, son, I invented that. They were all glad to see Ziegler in the showroom, and they were all celebrating. We got a Ziegler in the showroom, and they were all gathering around me. And then they plop a foursquare in front of me. I was sort of like mega insulted. And I could see where customers are getting that, because if they'll try to do it to me, they'll certainly do it to anybody.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah. So what have we not covered today that we need to cover, Brian? Help me out.
I would say maybe ask these guys, what did they experience along the way? What were the pain points that cause other, because there's a lot of dealers, as you know, Jim, that are hesitating on adapting products like Prodigy or Darwin, or, I don't want to, do F&I, virtually because it's going to kill my gross, or I don't want to do any part of this online. I'm not going to give sight unseen appraisals. That's a great one. Because I'm not going to give values over the phone or over the internet. They can just come in here. And I'm sure that where you live, there's not an Audi dealership within 10 miles of you. So they had to give you an idea of where you're at before all that went down, right?
Well, I was online. I was geek shopping, absolutely. And I had my numbers down. I'm in the business. Of course I have my numbers down.
But if they would have said, we're not going to give you a number on your trade until you come in at all, you probably would have crossed them off your list, right?
Well, on that case, it was not a trade involved, but yeah, I got it. Yeah, absolutely.
Or any other part like that.
Exactly. If they would have withheld information from me, and the information is too readily available, back when I was a manager actively in dealerships before I started consulting, and I had to switch gears several times. The salesperson would come to the desk. Well, they want to know some figures. Get them in.
Right. Well, that was just a few years ago.
When Brian showed up at the dealer, when he showed up for the first time, I was the internet manager. He came to the back room, and I remember he goes, well, why don't you just send them the price? I said, well, if I send them the price, they're not going to come in. They're just going to shop us. And he kind of like looked at me weird. And then I had Highlander leads shut off at that point in time because we wouldn't sell them below MSRP. So we didn't even want to get them anymore. And the changes that we've gone through, I mean, it's insane. And when you're talking about pain, the pain is going to come from all areas, but you need to have the people who are going to believe in what you're doing set in place, because you're going to have to hold everyone accountable. It's the only way it works.
I'm telling you, I mean, it has changed so radically. And like Brian just said, in the last 5 or 6 years, the old school was, well, they want to know some numbers. Well, let me see your business card. Look at it. Somebody wrote salesman on your card. Get your ass in there and be one.
Right.
That was the general desking technique. Get them in.
So we had a policy in 2016 that we don't give numbers over the phone or over the internet.
Couldn't even take them out of the showroom.
No,
so
I mean, the policies
you don't know what
changed.
you don't. Right.
I mean, we
had to adapt.
There's photos on my Facebook of people doing push-ups to qualify for Credit Life.
Right. Or arm wrestling.
We've all seen the transitions, and I've embraced the transitions, and I see that you guys certainly have, and you're living it.
And it's more profitable.
Yeah,
significantly more profitable.
I highly recommend Darwin and Prodigy, or Darwin and Prodigy in that order. Prodigy and Darwin. So I see dealers that are resisting, and I did a demo on frickin' tech. Auto FI won't give me one, but I've seen most of them, and they're all similar, by the way. Everybody's got the same similarities in their digital retailing concept. How about video? Are you guys using video to talk to the customers?
I'll defer to Josh on that.
Josh?
Yeah, I mean, the way we're contacting these customers might make you laugh, but not only are we using video, we're using text. We're sending out memes, which would make you laugh, but it was actually amazing. We sent them out at the end of the month, and they were just all sorts of memes created by mostly Brian. And then when you're sending them out, it's all of a sudden these customers are calling into the store. Now they're in there within the same day or that day, just changing it up. Videos are huge though, especially when a customer wants to see a car walking out there, being able to take a video on it, or even of yourself sending it out for more personalization. Because
I have seen recently, not just that, but I have taken some demos recently on several of the new CRMs. And this isn't the old platform CRM, but they actually have video and chat built in, where the F&I manager specifically can communicate with a consumer while they're at the zero moment still on the website. And I think that's the next technology that dealers are going to incorporate into the digital retailing, where we can communicate like we're doing now on a Zoom type format, where they can.
Prodigy has that software that if the customer wants to engage, instead of the live chat turning into a phone call, it can turn into a video right from the salesperson's iPad.
Exactly. Text and video are like right now, we could talk about this. This could be a podcast and we could be just voice only. We could be Clubhouse. But the truth of the matter is, right now, we are four-dimensional. We are people. We are human beings. We have facial expressions. I can, Ryan, you ever see the movie Home Alone?
Sure have.
We can definitely show emotion. We can show sincerity. We can show all sorts of things with video that we can't do with flat text or even voice communication. And so I'm seeing where video is going to really play a larger, huger, more prolific part in the way we sell cars. What's your thoughts on that?
I think that the most important thing about what you just said is there's not one silver bullet. I think I've got a silver bullet. Yeah, but there's not many of these things. But if it's video, it's layered in, or it's a text that leads like a gateway drug to a phone call. John Hamlin gave me this. If you can see this, maybe you can't. But it's a silver bullet.
Take it back closer to you. There you go. Now I can see it. Yeah, now we can see it. There you go.
But that's the only time I've ever seen one. So Sean Welsh from Car Biz Done Better yesterday sent me a text and an email saying, did you see my email? So I looked back and I saw the link on it, clicked on the link, and it was a video. And it was basically saying, hey, I'm trying to get a hold of you and I need to talk to you. So he's using all those different methods of communication in one to get, obviously the end goal is a phone call. But I think that a lot of people, a lot of my friends, that are running stores, they replace phone calls with text messages or try to replace it with emails. And there's not a one size fits all. And that's it's like nails on a chalkboard to me, is to limit yourself to this is the best way. Or even just, I think phone calls are the best, but phone calls are, we're not stuff that goes with it. That's a different omni-channel presence. It's four-dimensional like you're talking about. And you can't have just one, communication method.
No, it's got to be multimodality, where people have different learning methods and different ways that they perceive and ingest information. So there's different ways that people do that, and you've got to be able to serve the information up. And I really hate people that psychoanalyze their customers. I had some idiot professor trying to tell me, well, we sell to this guy, we got to analyze his personality. Quit it. I'm not going to do psychology on these people.
It's not rocket surgery, baby.
Yeah, get out of here. It's all, I tell salespeople all the time, why did we hire you? Because we suspected you had a personality. Get in there and use it.
Josh, Jared's bleeding through. You got to mute your mic.
Hold on.
Is that Jared?
That's Jared.
Yeah,
he wants to be a part of it so bad. He started talking.
I saw Jared's new puppy last week. I mean, that puppy owns him. There he is in the background. Hey, Jared. Did he march out? Did he march out mad?
He's had enough of that. So the other thing that I
wanted the name drop.
I would.
That was Jared Kilway, ladies and gentlemen.
CDO, Chief Digital Extraordinaire. So the other thing I would ask these two about, Jim, is how they guard the culture. Okay. Because I think that's the foundation of the whole thing. That's one of these things that doesn't ever get talked about. That gets
define the culture, guard the culture. Well, let me ask you this before I ask that question. Did you have mutineers? Every time I tried to put a process in a dealership, I had mutineers. They needed to wear eye patches and
well,
Ryan,
the ones that resist are usually the pain points that we were talking about earlier. But in terms of the culture, mutineers can't survive here because the culture itself spits them out. So everybody is so in tune to that. When somebody comes out and wants to do it their way, You know, like I said earlier, it's about the trust across the board, not just the salespeople, not just the management. You know, Brian Wendell, you know, Ben, the other sales manager that's here, and then Steve Dietrich, our internet guy. The trust is so tight, and everybody has an expectation. I said the standard is the standard, and that's known across the board. So anyone that tries to come into it just gets chewed up, and you know, it's not going to work for them. Getting it to this point,
I've always heard from dealers. Now, this is what I hear more often than not. Well, damn, Jim, the man sells 30 cars a month and he won't do it our way.
well, I'd be willing to tell you we've let, you know, guys that run the biggest numbers in F&I, the biggest salespeople that didn't fit the culture, they're no longer here.
Exactly.
And we're selling more cars now with less people by saying, and you know, Wendell's taught me a lot into this, but when you go, the standard is the standard. It doesn't matter who you are, the way we function, doing the right thing for the customer is non-negotiable. You're just not going to be here. And so we'll do more with less, which we proved since I've been here. We've actually, sales staff hasn't exactly grown a ton, but we're selling way more cars.
We're selling way more cars because it's customer driven. And what I like about it is even though we have the digital retailing incorporated into the process, it's still management driven. I mean, there's a lot of people out there trying to eliminate management, eliminate pay plans. You know, it's a whole revolution happening out there, you know, and
Commoditize everything.
Commoditize everything. And I will never be in favor of that ever because I'm a management trainer. I'm not a sales trainer, you know, and I've had to adapt so many times over the last 35 years, you know, the 47 years I've been in the business. You know, so yeah. I've had to switch course. I'm switching course again right now. I mean, I am technologically involved. So I hear people say, "Well, Jim, I'm too old to learn the new stuff." Well, excuse me, I got underwear older than you. Quit it. You know.
But you know what? Blocking and tackling doesn't change, and guarding the culture doesn't either. And if you don't have that piece, and I think that's the one thing that so few talk about is if you don't have those pieces down, digital retailing will fail.
Well, that's the thing. I've seen your process, and I've seen how the players you've lined up. You've got a superstar management team, you know, excluding Kilway. But anyway.
He's going to be so happy. He got mentioned twice.
That was Jared Kilway we're talking about, folks. So guarding the culture, I mean, so that's what I wanted to find out, because I never, ever was blackmailed by the whims of a spoiled brat, ever, ever, ever. I mean, if somebody said, or else, I always chose else.
Most of the time they do that, it's because the clarity is not provided up front, and there's ambiguity that they interpret it because it's not established, and everybody's not bought into a singular vision. You know, most of the time, there's a lot of people that decide not to come into work here, and when we lay it all out for them, they say, you know, that's just probably not for me. It's not good or bad. It's just not a good fit, and it's not what I'm. And you set that up right from the rip.
Absolutely. Kilway just walked in through the back of you there, Josh.
Photo bomb.
I love it. Okay, let's wrap this thing up. Ryan, final statements. What would you like to say to people that are considering digital retailing, incorporating it into the process? See, what I'm going to say before I even get into the final question here is nobody is doing it the way it's being sold.
100%. Everybody advertises one thing and never delivers.
No.
Which is, you know what, and we have our problems that we go through, but I think they pale in comparison to what a lot of people are going to be going through. Because of, you know, as far as we've taken this as a team and as a unit and gotten everything to where it is. The final statement is don't resist. The more that this is resisted, it's like Brian used to use the analogy of the NADA books versus V-Auto. The guys that wouldn't go into V-Auto, where are they now? Or wouldn't go digital with their appraisals, where are they now? If you don't adapt, you're not going to be able to make it in the business.
Well, once again, now V-Auto, there's another example. I would never use vAuto the way they tell you to use it.
The new version or the old version?
Any version, not
Okay.
not the way that Dale Pollock stands on stage and tells you to use vAuto. I love vAuto. I hate vAuto. I love and hate vAuto, because vAuto is a great buying strategy and a great exit strategy, but it's never been my pricing strategy.
No, and not saying it should be, but they give you the tools to be able to make those determinations as well.
Let me know what too much inventory is in the market. They'll let me know when I need to jump off of a piece. There's a lot of things I can interpret by looking at vAuto, but pricing, because my theory has always been, I've got to give a used car a chance to make a profit, because people switch. They don't ever buy the car they thought they were going to buy when they leave the house. So,
Agreed.
so if I've
You still need talent and people to execute that play. And the people that don't have talent and don't have people that they trust are the ones that commoditize it. Because I can tell you that if you look at our stuff, we're not the best price on every single car out there. Not trying
right.
to. Everyday low prices is at Walmart about a mile that way. And that's not us. We're trying to give the best experience. And those two are not necessarily always the same thing.
Exactly. Very good. So I interrupted you, Ryan. Finish out.
Just saying, don't resist the change. You go into it with an open mind. You go into it looking to, right? Because there's a lot of talented individuals out there that can adapt to these situations, that are going to fight it because I'm comfortable. I know how to do it. It's been the way it is. Look to up your game and adapt in the market, and you'll have happier customers. You'll be more profitable, and you'll have happier employees. And that's all it really is.
Fantastic.
Constantly look to improve.
How's your turnover?
Oof, it's not, I mean, at one point it was way down there.
Less than 30%.
Yeah, I would say somewhere in there.
I tell people it's a tough job. Even for the best people, it's a tough job. If you saw how much a car sales professional has to learn, I mean, just the learning curve is incredible. The amount of information they have to have. Josh, wind us up.
Okay, so let me say this when you're going digital, because everyone's going to watch this video, right? And then all these dealers are going to jump on, try to go full force into it, probably, I'm assuming, since you have all of us in here. But this is what I would say. Brian always would say this to me. You can't bake a cake that takes 30 minutes and 15 by turning up the heat. So if you don't have your culture and your people set in place, ready to go, that's where your foundation's going to need to get built. You need to get on it now. You need to get your people in line, hold everyone accountable, and get ready. Because as you start to take off doing that, right, with all that stuff happening, all those changes, and like you said, you're going to throw all these curveballs at everyone. You're going to need everyone to be able to keep their head on straight and keep going through it. And that's going to be the key to your success, is building your foundation before you launch into the future right now.
So you need to make a commitment, number one, and you have to see that there's going to be some pain arriving at the epitome of that commitment. Is that it, Brian?
Yeah, but I think it's you got to be realistic, and you also have to sell how painful it's going to be to your team. And I think what a lot of managers do is they don't want to tell them how bad it's going to be. They try to sell them with the lollipops, the rainbows, and the unicorns, and blowing sunshine up their ass, and telling them how great it's going to be when it's not, and not just telling them the way it is. And our team can handle it, and I think that most teams can. And when you present it like that, and then it's something else, then they lose the trust in everything else that you're saying around it. Just tell them it's not going to be. It wasn't easy for me to switch from a BlackBerry to an iPhone. And it took me 2 years to decide to do that, because I didn't want to relearn and learn something new. And it's a whole different game. And I should have done it 2 years previously. And there's many other analogies like that. And it's something that's coming, but like you said with Prodigy, a lot of people are trying to just do these bolt-ons with digital retail and just do it at the end. It starts with logging your customer into the system correctly first, getting the email address, asking them for their cell phone number, getting the address, and just like we've always done, assuming that they're gonna buy a car, because they're only shopping 1.2 dealerships. So why don't you ask them, how do you plan on titling this vehicle? And everybody's so afraid to ask that question, one name or two, or your company's name, and just assume the sale right from the rip by not using something like Prodigy with having iPads where you have the genesis of the deal and you log them in like they're going to buy. That it's the old saying, if you treat them like a buyer, they'll become a buyer. If you treat them like they're not going to buy, they're not going to buy. And that's where I think the majority of everybody in this industry goes wrong, is they keep on trying to go the easy way. And you need to embrace productive discomfort and just be okay with it, and just know what the percentages are going to be and just roll, and not try to find this easier solution and make it easy for everybody. It's not, it's hard. And wrapping their minds around that is the key.
I have always taught something I call the illusion of expectation. Whether you believe it or not, they have to believe you believe it. When I act like they're going to buy the car, that is the illusion of expectation. I mean, I always act as a sales representative, as a manager, that I fully expect you to do this. It's never, yes, it's, oh, when would you like to drive one? That's 30, 40 years old. It's not, would you like to drive one? When?
Let's go drive one.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Nobody that doesn't save, everybody says they want to go faster. That doesn't save time. That makes exactly things like that is what makes things take longer. And if you want to speed things up, you've got to be more direct, and you've got to, and I find that people appreciate it when you just shoot them straight, because so many people don't. Well, you just hit them right between the eyes.
The dealers don't know exactly what they want right now. COVID has sped up everything. Henry Ford 100 years ago said, I had to build a car because if you asked the people what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse.
Yes. And it's no different than when Steve Jobs said everybody needs this type of phone. I didn't see it. Or the iPads were going to be, which is what I'm talking about right now, we're going to be such a big deal. A lot of times you don't know what you want until somebody shows it to you. And that's exactly what's happening. And as long as Tesla is giving people that experience, Lucid Motors, like you mentioned earlier, because they're good. Lucid Motors is selling cars with augmented reality. So
we don't want to drive the stock up too quick.
That's gonna change everything. And then Apple is gonna be in the retail car business. We all know it. And when that happens, it's not gonna be the product that you're competing with. It's gonna be the experience. And with these guys, on this call, I'll put them up against Apple any day of the week. I don't know how, the scalability or how many people would be comfortable saying that. And we still got work to do, sure. But you will be competing with Apple's experience.
I'm not even as afraid of Apple as I am of Amazon.
Well, Amazon obviously is behind Lucid, but they still have to deliver an experience. You can't call Amazon. I don't know if you've ever tried to do that, but it's painful.
No.
But they're so efficient that really never comes up. And since they're so efficient, they can do things like take products back, and mattresses they lose their ass on, and all the shipping and all the crazy stuff they do, because they just play the odds and the statistics. And that's what we're finding, is that when you just take care of people and just give them the information, the law of reciprocity, we've got, we need to staff up, because we right now have more opportunities than we can handle.
Well, that's another thing. Staffing is absolutely essential, because everybody is not going to be a 30 or 40 unit producer. You can't expect that. I'm not going to say everybody's going to be 6-car Fred, but still, you got some people at both ends of that spectrum, and you have to average it out. There comes a point where you have to staff up to sell more cars. Realistically,
you also have to not tolerate people not putting customers' information in the CRM. And just the basics, but it happens. Jim, it happens more than it doesn't in this.
Marry your CRM.
Right.
The CRM is the heartbeat of the dealership, and I have taken many dealerships to another level just by legislating the CRM, as you just mentioned. Just legislate the CRM and get anything out of the CRM that the dealership doesn't do. Because there's a lot of things in the CRM that you will never use. It doesn't fit your culture. You won't use it. Have them program it out. You can't even see it. Get rid of it. I mean, it's confusion. So everything you leave in the CRM, have them program out the stuff you don't use. Everything in there is stuff we use in our culture, in our system.
Well said.
CRM is everything. I've gone in dealerships, Highline dealerships, and they said, well, that's old Joe. Old Joe can't do the CRM. Well, Joe can't stay here. You know, love old Joe, but he can't stay here if he won't adapt to our culture. And you know, there's
you're hurting old Joe in that scenario because he's not able to live up to his potential because you're slitting his cocoon.
Exactly. Guys, I could talk to you forever. Ryan, was this a good experience for you today?
Fantastic experience.
You're a star. Look at you. Not like Kilway, but I mean, you.
I'm not Kilway. No, he's way up there. I aspire to be like that someday.
Josh, he just got like 20 followers.
Brian, thank you for this. This has been great. Stick around for a second, guys.